So here's our new Custom Loaf Pro bread maker, and it's got so many cool features. One of the ones I love the most is that we can preset it to wake up for us in the morning. There's nothing better than waking up and having that smell of freshly baked bread in the house. And another really cool feature, we've got this fruit and nut dispenser. So essentially we can put our fruits and our nuts and our olives or whatever it might be into this section, and then at the right stage it'll actually dispenses in, so we don't have to touch it through the process. Before I go through the features on the screen, I'll just show you what you get in the box. First of all, we've got our baking tray, and we've got two blades here. This one here is a jam blade, so that's for making your jams and preserves, so the bread maker can do that as well. And this side is the collapsible dough blade. This is a fantastic piece of kit for bread makers. So the idea is that whilst the bread is kneading, the blade sits upright. You can imagine that going around. But right at the end of that last knead, we reverse the direction, and that causes that blade to lie flat. And if you've ever used a bread maker before, you'll know normally when you take the loaf out, there's a really big hole caused by that blade. But because we've laid that down, we actually lose that. So we get proper slices the whole way through the loaf. Now I'll just take you through the options we have on the screen. The way this is set up is, first of all, we choose the type of bread or dough that we're going to make. And we've got various options from basic white bread to whole wheat, and we can have a rapid setting on either of those, so a little bit quicker setting. The recipes change slightly, so look to your instruction book. We've got the gluten-free setting. Bread makers are amazing for people who are gluten intolerant. Crusty loaf setting, a sweet bread setting, a yeast-free setting, and various dough settings between pizza. And we can even do a pasta in here. Obviously you won't shape the pasta, you're going to have to do that yourself. And we've got a bake-only option, so that's if you want to knead out your bread yourself. We can just do the bake in here. And we've also got the jam setting as well for our jams and preserves. And the last setting is the custom setting. So the bread maker itself can remember up to 9 separate recipes. That allows you to choose your different knead times, your proof times, and your bake times. I mean, there's a whole world of breads out there. And to run through the other buttons on the bread maker, we've got a units button between metric and imperial. We can have our beeper to beep when it's ready or not. We might not want it to wake us up in the morning. We've got a light button, so I can get right in there and see how that's going. And one of my favourite features is the delayed start, so I can have my loaf ready in up to 13 hours time. Our modify, that's where we get to customise our different bake times and knead times. And the last button is our start pause button. So we can actually pause through the baking process, so we can put glazes on and all those types of things. So once you've chosen your bread setting, and I'm just going to go to a basic white setting, you then have the ability, and I'll select that, to choose your crust doneness. So you choose between a light crust, a medium crust, or a dark crust. I'm going to choose a medium crust. And then my next selection is my loaf size. So I can choose between a 1/2 kilo loaf to a 0.75 kilo to a 1 kilo, right up to a 1.25 kilo. So I'm just going to start a bake, and a couple of tips along the way. The first tip, very importantly, is we have to have our dough blade pointing upwards. So make sure it's standing up before we put our ingredients on. There's a little stem that we place that on, and I've got that sitting up. The next tip is we do put our liquids and fats in before our dry ingredients. Look at your recipe book for these recipes. That recipe book's online, so anyone can see that on our website. We put our dry ingredients in second. Now, if you are doing a delayed start, it's really important that you put your liquids, then your dry ingredients, then your yeast on top. If that yeast touches the water, it will activate before you want it to. And then it's as simple as opening the lid, placing the pan inside the bread maker, closing the lid, and pressing the start button. And the last option, as we said before, if you do want to add any nuts or seeds or fruits to that mix, it's as simple as holding those ingredients at the top, and what will happen there is a trapdoor will open at the right time and they'll be included into the dough. But essentially, we'll just press start now, and we'll come back in 3 hours and 20 minutes to check out what the result's like. Oh my God, that smells amazing. I just want to show you a few extra features as we go through the bake before it's ready. Number one is we've got that light, we talked about that before, so I can see how that's going. And the other thing is we've got a countdown timer, so I can see that in around 30 minutes, our bread's going to be ready to serve. It smells amazing. Another great feature is that's now flicked into a keep warm phase. So we've got a nice warm loaf, but we're going to get straight into this one. Got a handle on that pan. Grab that out. There we go. And there we have it. That's the kilo size, so there's another setting for a larger loaf than that, but that looks fantastic. So as I showed you before in the demonstration, we've got that collapsible blade, so we haven't sort of pulled this massive hole out. One last tip is that blade can be a little bit tough to remove after the baking process. So just fill the pan with water and that'll soften up all the dough around it, make it very easy to remove. So there you have it, the Custom Loaf Pro. For me, it's the best thing since sliced bread.